Hey everyone, and welcome back to You Talk, We Listen. Brought to you by the always insightful OtisWho network. We're diving into a story that's got a lot of people talking. President Biden's full pardon of his son, Hunter.
Yeah, presidential pardons always get people thinking about justice and power,
Yeah.
and this one definitely brings family ties into the mix too. And it's even more complicated, I guess you could say, because it happened just weeks before a new president takes office, one who's been pretty critical of both Biden and his son.
And that new president is Donald Trump. Talk about a twist, right?
Uh,
Our source today is a New York Times article from December 1st, 2024, just a few days before that transition. So you've been following this whole story really closely. You even sent us a ton of material to look at. So where should we even start with all of this?
Well, I think the timing of this pardon is really important. Hunter Biden was facing a bunch of legal problems like
Mhm.
tax evasion and a firearm charge. President Biden had said all along that he wouldn't interfere with the investigations, but then all of a sudden, full pardon. It even covers a period from 2014 to 2024, which is kind of
Yeah.
unusual.
You're right. It is a blanket pardon. It's not for any specific crimes. So what's the significance of that time frame? I mean, why such a broad pardon?
Well, it kind of suggests that Biden might be worried about future investigations,
Mhm.
not just the charges that already exist. It feels like a preemptive move, especially with Trump's history of uh, going after his opponents.
And the article even mentions that Trump chose Kash Patel to be the new FBI director. He's known for going after anyone who Trump sees as a rival. So is this just Biden trying to shield his son from attacks that might be politically motivated?
It's definitely possible. Biden says that the charges against Hunter were politically motivated from the beginning, but then his opponents say that this pardon is just a blatant abuse of power, plain and simple.
Hmm.
It makes it look like there's a conflict of interest.
Exactly. Biden has always said that he would make sure the Justice Department stays independent, but then this pardon makes it seem like he's going against that. So what kind of message does this send to the public when they see that?
I mean, it raises questions about what his priorities are. On the one hand, he's promised to respect the legal process, but then he's also using his power to kind of go around that system for his son. It feeds into this idea that the Bidens think they're above the law, which is exactly what Trump and his whole, you know, deep state idea is all about.
So in a way, this pardon is like giving more ammunition to Biden's opponents,
Hmm.
especially with how tense things are politically and with the transition coming up. It makes you wonder, is this really about justice or is it just about playing politics?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's something that people will probably be debating for years to come. It really makes it seem like the justice system can be manipulated just for political gain.
And the article mentions that this isn't the first time a president has pardoned someone in their family. We've seen examples with Bill Clinton and E.P. Trump himself doing the same thing. So is this becoming a trend? And if so, should we be worried?
Well, it's not very common, but these cases do show how personal relationships can influence presidential pardons. And that brings up ethical questions about, where's the line between loyalty and presidential responsibility?
It's a tough situation to be in, isn't it? A president is a person with family, but they're also the leader of a country, and people expect them to uphold the law fairly. So does this pardon make those lines blurry?
I think it definitely does. And it makes you wonder if there should be more ways to keep presidential pardons in check, especially when family is involved. Right now, the president has almost unlimited power when it comes to pardons.
So basically, Biden has given his son immunity for any potential crimes during that 10-year period. So what does that mean for the Trump administration when they come in? What options do they even have at that point?
It's a really tricky situation. Trump could try to go after other charges or start new investigations, but that might make him look like he's just trying to get revenge. But if he doesn't do anything, then that could make him look weak.
It's like Biden is daring Trump to either make things worse or back down. So how do you think this will play out when Trump takes office?
It's really hard to say for sure, but it will definitely have consequences. The political situation is already tense, and this pardon just makes things more complicated.
Yeah. And we can't forget about the human side of all of this, too. The article talks about Hunter Biden's struggles with addiction and how that played a role in his legal problems.
Right, that's an important part of the story. While we're
Yeah.
talking about all the legal and political stuff, we need to remember that this is about real people who are dealing with real
And Hunter
problems.
Biden's statement, I mean, it's pretty powerful. He talks about feeling relieved, but also about being targeted for political reasons.
Hmm.
And he takes responsibility for what he did, during what he calls his darkest days of addiction.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that there's a personal side to all of this. You've got a father trying to protect his son, a son who's struggling with addiction and facing some serious legal trouble. It definitely adds another layer to the whole situation.
And it makes you think, What role should compassion and empathy play in something like this? Is it even possible to separate the personal stuff from the politics?
That's a tough one. In a perfect world, justice would be blind, right? But in the real world, people's personal situations and political stuff always seems to find a way in. This pardon really makes us face that tension head on.
This whole thing has really sparked a lot of debate. Some people say that it undermines the justice system, and then others see it as just a father showing love for his son. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, it's not really about taking sides. It's more about trying to understand all the different perspectives and how complicated the situation really is. This pardon makes us ask questions about fairness and accountability and how far a president's power should really go.
The article talks about how divided public opinion is on this, and it seems like this pardon is only going to make that divide even worse.
Oh, absolutely. It plays into all those anxieties people already have about corruption and politicians showing favoritism and the justice system being used as a weapon. It reinforces this idea that there's one set of rules for the powerful people and a different set for everyone else.
And that kind of cynicism can be really harmful to democracy, right? It
Yeah.
makes it harder to talk to each other and find common ground.
Exactly. When people stop trusting the institutions that are supposed to be there for them, it really weakens the foundation of society.
So let's zoom out for a second. What does this pardon tell us about American politics today? Is this just another example of how polarized and divided we are as a country?
I think definitely a sign of a bigger problem. We're so stuck in our own ways of thinking that it's hard to even consider another point of view. We judge people so quickly and we're quick to blame, but we don't really listen to each other.
And this pardon just feeds into that. It's almost like it was designed to make people angry and divided.
It definitely throws gasoline on the fire. It makes people's biases even stronger and it makes the mistrust between different groups even worse. It's hard to see how this is going to bring us together as a country.
It's kind of disheartening, honestly.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if we've lost the ability to have conversations about important things in a way that's rational and respectful.
Well, I wouldn't say we've lost the ability to do that completely, but it's gotten a lot harder for sure. We're constantly bombarded with information from every direction, and it's easy to get caught up in all the emotions of the moment.
So what can we even do about it? How do we break out of this cycle of just being outraged and divided?
There's no easy answer, but I think it starts with each of us taking responsibility. We need to be more careful about the information we're taking in and be more open to listening to viewpoints that are different from our own. And we need to be committed to finding common ground, even when it's tough.
That's easier said than done, though, isn't it?
It definitely takes work. It's about questioning our own assumptions and being open to new ideas and recognizing that even people we disagree with might have some good points.
It's about having empathy for people, even when we see them as opponents.
Exactly. Empathy is essential. It lets us see the humanity in other people even when we don't see eye to eye with them. It's the basis for understanding and compromise.
So going back to the pardon, where do we go from here? What are the long-term consequences of all of this?
It's hard to say for sure, but this pardon is probably going to have effects that we'll see for years to come. It could change how presidential pardons are handled in the future. It could lead to more investigations into what Hunter Biden was doing. And it will probably keep being a source of conflict in the political world.
And, it sets a precedent for presidents in the future, too. Will they feel like they can use their pardon power for personal reasons or for political gain? It's definitely something that legal experts and historians will be thinking about for a long time.
And it leaves you with this uneasy feeling about our institutions. If it seems like the justice system can be used as a political weapon, then what does that mean for the rule of law?
Yeah, it makes people question whether things are really fair and if anyone is held accountable. It makes you wonder if there are two different systems of justice, one for the people with power and connections, and then another one for everyone else.
And that's a really dangerous way to think. If people stop believing in the system, it erodes trust in the government and in each other.
Okay, so we've talked about all the legal and political stuff and the ethical side of things and even the human element of this pardon. What's the main takeaway for our listeners? What should they be thinking about after hearing all of this?
Well, I think this whole pardon situation is like a mini version of the bigger problems that our society is facing. It shows how divided we are and how much we distrust our institutions. And it shows how we've lost the ability to have real conversations with each other. It's easy to get caught up in the anger and blame, but the real question is, how do we move forward from here?
It does feel like we're at a turning point. We can either give in to all the negativity and division, or we can try to have thoughtful conversations and treat each other with respect, even when it's hard.
That's right. This pardon is like a wake-up call. It makes us face some uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our society, but it also gives us a chance to think and to grow.
Maybe this is an opportunity to have those tough conversations, to try to bridge the divides and to really commit to creating a society that's fair and just.
It all starts with each of us. It starts with being willing to listen to other people's points of view, even if we don't agree with them. And it means trying to understand people who are different from us and holding our leaders accountable while also holding ourselves to a higher standard.
So for everyone listening, what really stands out to you about this, Tardan? What questions does it make you ask about justice and power and the future of our country? We really want to hear your thoughts. Join the conversation on our social media. And until next time, remember, you talk, we listen, trial.